Jessica from Guild Mortgage. And today we're going to be diving into the topic where everyone wants clarity on, right? What it really means to be in a buyer's market. So, how does it impact sellers as well? And what you need to know about some appraisals. Like, because I've been getting that question as well. Like, does my yard included with the appraisal, stuff like that. So we'll kind of just dive in a little bit about it. So this is going to be packed with some value, whether you're buying, selling, or just curious on the market. So Jess, go ahead and introduce yourself for anyone that does not know you yet, and yeah, we'll go from there.
Sounds good. Thank you, Alphen, for having me again. So, hi everyone. My name's Jess. I am a Guild Mortgage loan officer. Been in the industry for almost 6 years now. So, I have a extensive history of working with first-time home buyers, investors. Matter of fact, Alphen and I have been working with one recently who's buying two homes at the same time. So it's definitely still a good market. And the way to tell is when investors are still buying homes, right, Alfin?
Yep. Oh yeah. So there's just more options, definitely, right? And there's not a lot of what do you call bidding wars because you're not in
Mhm.
competition with a lot of other buyers. So that's definitely what we're seeing in today's market. And Jessica, what are your thoughts between like what you see when it comes to the negotiation, like as far as like seller credit, how is your side of things? How do you see that goes with your side of things?
Yeah, I've worked in both a buyer's market and a seller's market. Right now, it's definitely a buyer's market, thank God. That means that you guys, as the buyer, have more opportunities of getting a seller credit. So you might be wondering, what exactly is a seller credit? That's pretty much just a fancy way of saying extra money from the seller that is not part of your normal purchase for you to cover some of your own expenses of the purchase process. That could be a rate buy down so you can get a lower interest rate and therefore lower your mortgage payment, or cover your standard closing costs, which are all of those third party fees involved during the escrow process, which would be your appraiser, the inspectors, title company that makes sure that the title for the property is clean, that there's no encumbrances. So closing costs are on average 3% of the purchase price of the home. It could be a little higher depending on how new the home is, but that's exactly what a seller credit will do. It'll help you come out of pocket with much, much less at the time of closing. And right now, because we're working with the buyer's market, almost all of my first time home buyers, including those that aren't, are coming in with accepted offers where they are getting the most common range, I'd say, and Alvin, correct me if you're seeing something differently on your end, is the 3% price range. So 3% of the purchase price as far as the seller credit's concerned.
Absolutely. Yeah. Negotiation is definitely back on the table. Things like seller credits, repairs, rate buy downs are possible. And that's so huge, you guys. Buyers definitely have some breathing room right now and they can actually shop around, right? Because there's options. You can think it through and get deals that work. For them, besides just trying to make a decision right now because we're going to get beat. So, buyers definitely have a lot of breathing room at the moment. So that's what we're excited about. We can definitely we can we have more time to think. We're like, okay, no rush. That's kind of like how transactions been or relationships been with my buyers as well. So it's not like, oh, let's go go go. It's like, okay, let's sit back. You guys can think it through. What works for you. Let's move at your pace. So it's been really nice. So let's definitely flip it. For sellers, hearing buyers market, it can definitely feel scary. So, Jessica, what does it really mean for them, in your opinion?
Because it's kind of a give and take, right? So because we're working with the buyer's market, that means more people are venturing out there to find a home, right? When it's a seller's market, there's a lot of people that are a little displaced from being able to buy a home at that time because it's hard to come by 10, 15 grand in savings to cover your whole entire closing costs, maybe even a slight buy down, all on your own. On top of that, you may even be coming up with your own down payment unless you're using some sort of down payment assistance program. So even though it is a buyer's market, and sellers are offering seller credits to get to, to help the buyer with their closing costs, it still benefits the seller because that just means there's more buyers out there to pick from and choose from. So, and then most of the time, if we're being frank, Alphen, a seller will give a credit if they can afford to, right? If
Hmm.
they can't, you don't have to. It's
Yeah.
definitely not a requirement. It's just something that you could do as a seller to maybe get that home sold quicker.
Absolutely, 100%. And this is the conversation I'm having with my sellers is that pricing do matter. Overpricing your property right now at a buyer's market equals to homes sitting on the market. So homes that
Mhm.
definitely show well are marked correctly will move. So, sellers, I'm not discouraging them at all. That means we do have serious buyers out there that are ready. We just need to strategize on how to best present your property
Mhm.
that is show ready, priced right, marketing well. So if
Yes.
all three aligns, we're good. If we are priced a little higher, then just know your home is going to sit a little longer in the market, and that could be also a risk. So
Yeah.
those are definitely some of the conversations I'm having. Definitely, not fun conversation sometimes, but it's what's happening right now. But what I love about it, we do have serious buyers.
We do. And here's the thing. What I've done for many of my clients is sometimes as the seller, you need to net a certain amount of money so that you can buy your next home, right? You're banking on whatever it is that you're going to sell your home and you're going to have free and clear for yourself, maybe for your own other home down payment. So if it comes down to that, buyers don't get discouraged, sellers don't get discouraged if you see a seller credit being asked for during a offer, because what we could do is we could bring up the price or the offer enough to where you're still netting exactly what you need to net to buy your new home, but the buyer is still getting that extra help for the seller credit because maybe they only have 5 grand in savings. They need to walk away with only 5 grand out of pocket, right? So at that point, we have a win-win situation. You as the seller, you're still walking away with what you envisioned you would be walking away with, and the buyer is still getting that extra help that they need to be able to actually make this happen.
Exactly. And I always tell my clients it's not about listing high and hoping. We don't gamble with people's, you know, equity. It's about positioning your home to stand out. And when we
Mhm.
highlight the lifestyle, the value, buyers definitely connect emotionally to that. And that's when we get offers.
Yes.
So, Jess, now let's talk about something that trips people up, which is appraisals. Can
Yes.
you explain what it is and why it matters? I feel like, that's one topic that people are just like, oh, I want to get my home appraised first, or can you give us a little bit of insight?
Of course. So the appraisal is a very, very important part of the purchase process. First of all, it'll help you as the buyer figure out if the home you're purchasing is even worth the amount you're buying it for. And second of all, it helps the bank also figure out if that home is worth the investment, right? That's
Mhm.
mostly why the bank will require an appraisal. That means that the home has to be habitable. So I do get this question asked all the time. What if I find a very rundown home that maybe
Mhm.
needs a whole lot of work? Can I still purchase that through a standard mortgage loan? Well, the question would be, is it habitable? So if the home is considered habitable, which will be pretty much analyzed after the
Mhm.
appraisal is done, and really it's easy to know. Home has to have standard utilities, so water, sewage, everything needs to work normal, as if you were going to move into a brand new apartment. Electricity has to be on, floors have to be on. I mean, the roof can't be leaking or falling apart. It's just some very basic, normal things that your home has to have, right? So the appraisal is going to determine that. how much is the home worth based off of the comps in the area, and Alvin can fill us in on how that works on their end. And then aside from that, they also want to make sure it's a good investment for you and that it's a good investment for us as the bank as well. And right now in this market, I have not seen an appraisal for any of my clients, thank God, come in lower than what they are purchasing at. But this was common back in 2021, 2022, when we were having those bidding wars, because people were offering 20, 30, sometimes even more grand above what the asking price was for the home. So now the bank just needed to make sure, is it actually worth the amount that you offered?
Absolutely. So really, it's not the enemy, it's protection for both sides.
Mhm.
For buyers, it keeps you from being upside down. And then for sellers, it ensures your home is priced competitively so the deal doesn't fall apart. And
Mhm.
what I love to do that's proactive is that when we come to a listing appointment, right? We tour the home. I want to see what type of features that's going to market or bring value to your home when it comes to the appraisal, right? Those are things I'm going to write down, where I'm going to keep. And then when the appraisal is set, I'm going to be there so I can show the appraiser, hey, these are some of the upgrades that's been done to the home. So I can also just show them that your home is worth this much. So
Mhm.
I that's just a proactive approach, because sometimes, like what Jess said, maybe it's someone from the bank that just comes and just wants to make sure that the home is valued, that they're not losing on that home. So those are just some
Yes.
strategies that me as your realtor can help to make sure that your home will appraise.
Yes. And then something to keep in mind too, if you're the seller, is a lot of the times I get asked, I did a whole lot of work to the backyard and it's beautiful now. There's even a fountain. Does that count? It will add some value to your property, but the bank is in the business of lending towards the home itself, right? So any upgrades that you make to the actual home itself, not just the outside, but the home itself, will have more weight in the value that it will have through the appraisal. Do you agree with that, Alfin?
100%. I just had
Mhm.
an appointment, and this was the main concern, right? A lot of things were done in the backyard. And I understand that's a lot of sweat and tears and a lot of heart put
Money.
into and money, and I totally 100% agree. Um, Jess, where did you go? Are you there? You're back. Okay, awesome. So, yeah,
Nope.
so that this is what happens when it's live. It happens. But we'll see if Jess comes back on. We'll wait here in a minute. Okay, she's back.
Guys, don't know what happened, but I'm back.
There you go. No worries. We're just talking about appraisals, and we were talking about the backyard and how it does
Yes.
not weigh as much as the improvements done inside the home. So, the thing that I can do to help with that is that I do jot down what has been done. If you did like a patio, cement, stuff like that. They what they don't look at is like the added furniture.
Mhm.
Definitely they don't add that as the value of your home. So for any other improvements, let's say done in the backyard, I definitely try to make make sure I have that information just to present to the appraiser. Just be like, hey, these were things done. Granted, it's not going to add 100% value back to the home, but it will account for some, not
Yes.
all.
Yes. So just keep in mind it will add value. Of course it will, especially because it'll also help you sell it quicker, right?
Yeah.
Everyone wants less work once they move into their new home, and a freshly done backyard, beautiful backyard will definitely offer that kind of value for a buyer. But just keep in mind it won't add as much value as you probably spent on it.
Yes, unfortunately. So, yeah, definitely still a pro making, if your backyard is all done, renovated, that's amazing, or upgraded, really good. It means it's show ready. You'll attract more buyers. Um, Other than that, let's definitely wrap it up with strategies just For buyers watching, what should they be doing right now?
Well, first of all, since we just mentioned there are a lot of seller credits going around, that means the seller is more willing to work with you as a buyer. So if your main concern right now is money in the bank, and you maybe only have a couple grand. I mean, I just met with some clients this morning where we looked at the numbers, and if we got them down payment assistance and at least a 3% seller credit, they would walk away only coming up with $1,000 out of pocket. So let's leave the money excuses behind because now is the time if that is something you are concerned about. When the market flips to a seller's market, you may actually be obligated to wait. Right now, you're not. So if you're thinking of buying, let's definitely start looking into your credit profile. Take a look at your pre-qualification to see if it's something that we can make happen right now. You'd be surprised.
Yes, think long-term equity, not just today's, payment as well. And for sellers, here's what I'd recommend. I'd recommend pricing smart. The longer you sit, the more leverage you lose. And, definitely sell the lifestyle. We'll sell the lifestyle, not just the square footage, because every property, every location is unique and different. So that's something that we can definitely highlight on. Definitely be flexible and open-minded is what I always tell my clients. I always try to bring out different scenarios and what could happen. That way you're aware, because that's another thing is you never know what type of offer we're going to receive as well. So definitely knowing what type of other scenarios could happen. So other than that, Jess, do you have any final words?
Um, I mean, there's so much information out there, and everyone's situation is different. So if you want to stop guessing, maybe where you're at in the whole pre-qualification game, whether you can buy now or not, just reach out to us. There's zero commitment, and really all we're here to do is help answer your questions and hopefully give you clarity so you can make an educated decision moving forward. So just give us a ring, shoot me a text or an email even that we will include on the comments here so that we can get in touch and start looking into that for you.
Yes. Bottom line, buyers, you have such an incredible window of opportunity. And then also for
Mhm.
sellers, your home definitely still have value. It's just all about how we're going to position it, right? So whether you're buying, selling, or just want a game plan, we're here every step of the way. We'll be able to explain from plan A to plan Z, walk you through the process. Drop your questions in the comments below, and we'll be happy to answer it. Other than that, I hope you guys have a wonderful Thursday, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank
Bye.
you all.